My friend Jackie NightPipe asked me to create a film or a video.
Who is this Jackie NightPipe?
You don't really want to know. But her husband, Kevin, turns 50 on March 8th. I can't believe he's turning 50. I've known this fool since 1981, when I was in grade school and he was in junior high. We never even thought he'd survive the AIDS epidemic of the 80s, much less survive to 50. His old line was, "Dude, that chick had such a big clit," which really meant that dude had a really small dick. But, you know, we don't judge. I'm just glad he's found a big-clitted woman to spend the rest of his life with, and that's all that really matters. Of course, it does make you wonder, like, Jackie or is it Jack? Either way, it doesn't matter. I'm not really here to talk about his 50th birthday. I'm not really here to talk about Kevin's 50th birthday. It's really insignificant. But it's time we talk about March 8th, 1995. And
Lawyers say no.
no,
Lawyers say no.
no, it's time the truth be told. Spring break, 1995. Kevin was finishing his college career at University of South Dakota. I think he was taking some golf classes, other things like that. Not really a student, just finishing up. I was living down in Tucson, Arizona with Brian, his brother, him and his buddy. Our buddy we grew up with, Eric Thompson, who was also a University of South Dakota student finishing his degree, decided to come down to Tucson, spend some time, and hang out and have good times. That's what they did for spring break. You know, you bring up the point, should I be honest about this? I am in a little fear for my life. That's why I'm incognito here. Because Cougar Nation, people might think of NightPipe as just the YouTube sensation doing bike tricks on the stairwell. But he's more than that. I understand there could be repercussions, but whatever. So these guys came down for spring break. So we spent a few days dicking around Tucson. Like 25 and 26-year-olds do, we decided, hey, let's go to Rocky Point, Mexico. Puerto Penasco, it's in the Gulf of California. So we decided to go. We get up early on his birthday, drive down. So we of course had no plan. We had no reservations. We had no cooler. We had no sleeping bags. We just grabbed our crap and decided to go down for the day. Go down to Rocky Point from Tucson, Arizona. A 4-hour drive. We got up early, we get there, we drive right through the town, and then headed straight to the beach. Yeah, the La Playa. About a block from the beach, there was a market. So we went in there and we bought a cooler, because we didn't even bring a cooler. Bought one of those styrofoam coolers that the Mother Earth loves, still floating in the ocean somewhere, I'm sure. And then a case of beer and some ice. Went down to the beach, we're hanging out. No one's really out yet, because they've all been partying the night before, and so they're just slowly, as the beers went down, the day went on, people started showing up. The beach became kind of that festival scene. Vendors up and down selling things like chiclets, little kids selling gum, guys selling necklaces, sombreros, all that. Girls coming and going, just exactly what's 25-year-old single douchebags are looking for. At some point, we found a guy we bought some mota from. It's what they call in Mexico marijuana. So we went back to the market, because we didn't have a pipe, we bought some papers, and Brian proceeded to roll a few joints, and we're hanging out, drinking beers, doing our thing, in a circle, smoking this joint. Everybody but Thompson, because Thompson's not a pot smoker. So we're in the circle, smoking a joint. And this large Mexican fella rolls on up, and he's like outfitted in his And One horrible outfit, bright colors, basketball crap. And he rolls up, and somebody in the circle just hands him the joint. Takes that thing, and he's like, continues to walk out of the circle down the beach with our joint. Like, hey, you keep that, buddy. We're all just looking at each other, you know, a couple guys like, I would kick that motherfucker's ass. Whatever, we got more. We just kept drinking, kept smoking. Eventually, everyone starts leaving because we're gonna meet back, have the party that night. Bars on the beaches, we're advertising fiestas. All these people go back to the rooms which they had, which we still had not had because we had no reservation. didn't even look into it. We had a meeting of the minds. We're sitting on the beach, and we're like, okay, we still don't have a place to stay. Us rocket scientists decided, well, okay, let's go into town. Yeah, into Pueblo. Number one, we'll get a bite to eat. Number two, Thompson insisted on seeing a donkey show. Loved him some donkeys. And we'll come back. We'll either stay on the beach, gonna go see a donkey show, because Thompson loves his donkey. I think he's like a South Dakota State Jack.
Cut! Lawyers say no.
Yeah, that's fine. No, Thompson's got no money. I'm gonna say this. There's pretty much two rules of Mexico. One, don't go to Mexico with the NightPipe brothers. That's just understood. We violated that. Number two is don't leave the beach. We violated that as well. So we roll on into town. First thing you notice when you go into town there is there's no other Americans. And people are like, get the fuck out of here, gringo. We eat and then we go to this donkey show. We're out front. Thompson's haggling with this guy. He's got a lot of donkey show experience. Could you imagine his surprise when he found out it was gonna cost extra for him to suck the donkey's dick? He was just beside himself. We decided not to go to the donkey show. We're not gonna do that. We just thought, oh, before we go back to the beach, let's pop into this cantina. So we pop into the cantina. There's one guy that owns the place and a beautiful young lady. The bartender, he immediately sees us, walks into the back room and comes out. He's got this stick. It's probably like that. It's like a doll that you hang up in the closet. This guy takes it and he shoves it in his belt and he comes out undeterred. We, four cervezas, por favor, because they love it when you speak Spanish to them. You know, we're just being like friendly. Yeah, we're being friendly. So the guy serves us beer. The crazy thing is, in the bar comes two guys. One of them's the guy that sold us marijuana. Mota. He's telling us, hey, man, light up one of those joints. Well, we didn't have any more joints. We just had the weed, and we didn't have a pipe. We tell him that, so the guy's like, oh, no problem, and he hands Brian a pipe. Brian fucking loads the pipe, and of course we're sitting there and we're like, well, we can't smoke weed in the bar. It's Mexico, that's still kind of frowned upon, right? And the guy's like, no problem. This ain't Eugene, Oregon. We started, except for Thompson, because he's into donkeys, not weed. Sure as shit, within minutes, 15 federales roll into this place, and they all had gringo beater sticks, just like the guy's doll, and they just roll into the back of the thing. They don't search us, they're asking us for the weed and everything, but then they just throw us in a paddy wagon, which was hauled by the same donkey that Thompson wanted to suck. The paddy wagon was being hauled by the donkey from the donkey show. That's what I'm saying. It's a dual purpose animal. It's a beast of burden. It does everything. Well, what's the old joke? Why don't they teach sex ed and driver's ed on the same day in Mexico? Because the donkey gets tired. Thompson. No. So where were we? So they load us up in the paddy wagon. There's no windows in this thing. They chuck us. They didn't search us. They didn't do anything. They just threw us in this thing and they yelled a lot of Spanish at us, which we understood very little. So we're like in a 10-minute drive to wherever we're going. We don't really know. I noticed that Brian is stuffing the weed in the crack of the seat. And I said, hey, dude, eat that shit. Like the light bulb went on, he starts eating that stuff. And so he ate the whole thing. So by the time we got to the police station, they let us out and we go in the processing room, which is a small room with a desk. And there's the head guy, and they're very interested in us. And which is funny because we're like four drunken idiots and possibly a little stoned. Basically, that's where they took the time to search us. And remember, we're all in beach gear. We got sandals, flip-flops. I was wearing jean shorts, and I'll admit it, I wore jean shorts. Jorts. We're empty our pockets in this small room. Again, the federales, most of them are like young, and they're like children looking at us as the head guy is interrogating us. And Brian kind of went through without any issues, then done searching him, and then they opened this iron door and frickin' clank clank and throw him in there and shut the door, and I'm next on the docket. Got my wallet, and the one thing I had, because I'm a cool American from 1995, I had a hacky sack. This guy has got this hacky sack, and he's waving it in my face, and he's yelling at me in Spanish, and I'm like, it's a game, it's a hacky sack. And he's just blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. And finally, I grab it from him in a kind way because I don't want to get beaten, but I somehow got it from him. And I flip it in the air and kick it, and then tried to kick it again. Bumblefuck my way through this. Of course, there's like a sigh in the room that all these children on the outside, they get it. They all understand what it is, but that understanding quickly turned to contempt because of my lack of football skills. Silly gringo. They took apart my wallet and processed me as well. And they left Kevin, Nightpipe, and Thompson behind. They're leading me through the iron door. To my left and to my right are 2 cages full of juveniles. Another iron door. Unlock that thing. It opens into this big, open, cold concrete room. On the right, it's just all concrete, no windows. Straight ahead, kind of an opening. There's a drain in the floor that was plugged. Up about 10 feet is a window space with no glass but just bars to the outside world. The drain was plugged and it led out into our room, so the whole floor was just covered in a couple inches of sewer. There was apple peel, orange peels, food, toilet paper, shit, puke, everything just floating in this area. That was where we were to piss. And there was a spot on the floor over to our left, which it was a high ground in the concrete, and it was dry-ish. In it was a blanket with about 3 or 4 Mexican guys in the drunk tank as well, laying there to get huddled together, just watching us idiots. And then that whole wall behind them was actually all bars, then a walkway area, and then more bars that led to the county lockup, guys that were serving regular time. And they had beds, and they had toilets, and they had a ghetto box that they were playing some Creedence Clearwater Revival on a tape, which I didn't really feel like a fortunate son. And then right behind me came Thompson. He got processed, and then Kevin was the last one to get thrown in. We were all very relieved to be together, right? We were still all scared shitless, but it was just nice to be like, okay, at least I'm in this drunk tank. The 3 or 4 Mexicans on that blanket, it's like, okay, now there's 4 of us, and we felt like strength in numbers. Across the way with the county lockup guys, they really took an interest into us. They were goofing off, making fun of us. At one point, one dude threw a bucket of water on me, just doused me from across the, oh, it was, yeah. Listen, in prison, things happen. Things happen. Okay, so, you know, as much as those guys, and we were kind of bantering back and forth with the county lockup guys, at some point, they were okay. They threw Kevin Nightpipe a cigarette, so he got to have a cigarette while he's standing ankle deep in sewer. When they found out it was his birthday, they actually sang Feliz Cumpleaños to him. All of us are singing, everyone, the 4 guys in my cell, the 4 Americans, we're just like celebrating Kevin Nightpipe's birthday, his 26th birthday. So then, at some point, all of us are standing ankle deep in the sewer. They called lights out for the county guys, and they shut it down, and then it was really kind of a sad time. It was like, okay, this is gonna be a long night. Nowhere to sit down, nowhere to do this thing. We're all standing there in the water, except for Brian. Brian sat down and apparently eating eating an eighth of weed kind of helps you sleep through the night, because you can sleep in a sewer. Finally, one of the Mexicans on the blanket, he slid over and motioned us to that spot next to him, which was probably a spot for about 1.5 men, like a single, not even a single bed. And me, Thompson, and Kevin all crawled down into that spot, thanked him, of course, and then we held each other late into the night because we were all still in our beach. We were freezing, tired, thirsty, hungry, all of that shit. So in the middle of the night, early in the morning I should say, the iron door clangs open. One clang, one clang, one clang. We're hoping we're gonna get out. Truly, there was another guest that was gonna come into our room. They threw this guy face first into the shit, and they were aggressive with him. He immediately, when he hit the ground, he went to sleep, proceeded to snore, and then shit himself at some point in the night. And it was like one of the most explosive, the guy had some bowels. He had some power behind that thing, and he had white sweatpants on, which was just even worse. But we were just like, man, is this really happening? And it was. So, long night, a lot of stuff, cold, freezing, wet, stanky. We got old poopy pants over there. The sun starts to come up. Finally, when the light comes, we all recognize that the fella that was thrown in the middle of the night wearing the white sweatpants that shit himself was the very same gentleman that walked into our circle earlier in the day and stole our joint. And of course, he was trying to be the tough guy he was on the beach, but we were having none of that at that point. Even the Mexican guys with us, I think we were all kind of bonded together in our hatred of that fella. They do let us out of the jail. They basically took all our money and my sweet hacky sack. I did not get that back, and I still am writing the Mexican consulate regularly asking for the return of my hacky sack. They took all our money. We don't have a penny between us, but we have our credit cards, but we did have some money in the car. I think it was Thompson, but I don't know. Somebody had money in the car, so we went back into the jail and asked them, hey, can you call us a cab? It's almost unbelievable. So the cabbie rolls up. Number one, cabbie in Rocky Point speaks not a word of English. How dare he, right? He rolls up in this cab. He's got chicken wire for a windshield. Kind of forget where we left off. Windshield-less door. Well, they had three or four doors. A guy that we had a communication struggle with. If you recall, we were in a paddy wagon the night before on a ride to the jail, so we had no idea. We went north, south, east, or west. It was a difficult challenge to find the car. We ended up driving around quite a bit, probably a half an hour. I know that's a metric time, but whatever. We spent a lot of time driving around with this guy looking for our car, and then finally somebody had the idea, La Playa. So the guy, he understood that. He took us right there. From there, it was like a 5-minute drive. We got to our car, and it was like an oasis in the desert, just shiny. We were concerned our stuff was gone and everything. We didn't have the money to pay him. It was almost like the federales or the police, whatever they were, looked out for us. They're like, they're gonna pay some different freight for this one. So they protected that car. We got to it, got into that car. We're full of sewer. So we went back to La Playa and went for a cold morning swim, and then changed into our other clothes. And of course, we ran into our new friends from the day before who proceeded to tell us, where the fuck were you guys? You missed the most epic party ever. Fuck you. Chinga tu madre ese. All of us, we were like, let's get back home. Because, I mean, they took all our money. You know, part of us felt like we were violated. We brought this all on ourselves. We hurried back into the U.S. where I think each of us took about an hour-long shower separately because we like ladies. Not that we're judging. Well, it was a rough night. I slept with a couple of buddies. If you're going to be in jail in Mexico with a man, Kevin NightPipe's a hell of a cuddler. Really good. Warm, gentle. Not really a lot of snoring coming out of him. That was nice. The guy that shit his pants, that's another story. If I was going to go to jail again in Mexico, wouldn't be with him. We got back to Tucson, everything was good. They got their degrees and pretty much have failed at life since then as well. Kevin, it's been a lot of fun. 50 years. I did swear. The reason I'm not at your birthday party right now is because I did some soul searching after that weekend, and I swore that I would never spend another one of your birthdays with you because of your bad influence on me. So I'm going to this weekend not be at your birthday, but doesn't mean I don't love you, and hopefully you're not judging your life choices too harshly. You know, it's been a fun ride, and hopefully we have many more. Love you, buddy.